Alright, good evening everybody. Link in the description. So, as I was doing my usual pointing and clicking, I once again come across, another one of Dapper Does video regarding college students whining about, all their struggles in student loan debt and all that crap. And I'm going to put my own perspective on that. I'm going to be clear. I've said this in some of my other videos. Barring 1 year, and I left after the first year, I didn't go to college until later in life. And like I have said, it was my choice. It was my choice. I made the choice voluntarily, just like I made the choice to take out a car note. It was my choice. And when you sign a dotted line, I've said this in some of my other videos. Under normal circumstances, barring, life throwing curveballs at you, which is, it's currently where I'm at right now. You're agreeing to pay X amount of money back, or you risk suffering the consequences. So doing my credit card, my current car note, and my student loans. Now, like I said, I wish I had handled those, a whole lot better during the pandemic. I've recently started plunking away at them. And, again, surprisingly, mine are still part of that mega forbearance. They haven't been touched, even with all the news going around about aggressive collections on student loans. And, I'm guilty as charged where I took an article to get me to, wake the fuck up and be like, yeah, I should probably check my shit, right? But anyhow, I can't turn back the clock. I just got to move forward. Side note, I do have a phone interview this Monday. Wish me luck. I know I watched his video on the topic, and I noticed he made a lot of puns by accident, maybe, or maybe they were deliberate. I guess he's a roofer by trade. Whatever, his choice. I'm not going to regurgitate his video. You can check out that video in the link if you want. I don't know the gentleman. I don't sit there and agree with him. I don't agree with fucking everything every other fucking creative. I don't agree with everything every other one says. I'm my own person. I have my own views and ideologies and stuff. And back on topic. I have college debt myself. I own it. Now, like I said in some of my, previous videos, will I leave the U.S.? I'm not going to lie. I mean, that's an option too, because again, we've been so divided, and I think they wanted it that way, that we've been so divided that we cannot come together to fix our problems. You got, the left, they hate the MAGA side. Regardless of whether the MAGA side had, voters' remorse, and many of them are having voters' remorse. But the left not having any sympathy, that's almost making them just as bad as their MAGA counterparts. It's, two wrongs don't make a right. And obviously, because they chose the candidates they wanted to choose, it was basically set up to divide us and almost send us into a reverse civil war. But enough about that. The point of this video is, you sign it down the line. You are agreeing to pay that money back. Now, I know I've seen other videos, older videos mostly, where people, they just say, fuck it, I'm leaving the U.S. because I don't want to pay my debts back. I don't want to pay my student loans, so I'm just going to fucking leave the U.S. and I'm going to go live in a jungle. I'm going to go live in a cave somewhere, you know? And, you know, what they've basically done is they're forfeiting their right to probably even return to the U.S. even just to visit, even if they, you know, renounce citizenship, which I wonder if that's going to even be an option, you know, with this, you know, current administration. Um, and I wonder if it's going to be even harder now to renounce your citizenship, you know, especially if you have debts to the federal government. You know, I mean, you know, that could be a factor too, you know. Um, and again, they may work around it because everything's so fucking global now that, you know, they will find a way to get the money. I mean, unless you, like I said, like living in a jungle in India, you know, or fucking teaching English in some, you know, third world country or whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you know. They're avoiding responsibilities. They've condemned themselves to a shitty existence, you know, which you didn't even really need to do that. You didn't really need to spend money on the plane ticket for that, you know? You could have just fucking become homeless. You know, can't get blood from a fucking stone, you know? If someone's sitting in a fucking, you know, sidewalk and they have college debt and they're holding a fucking cup, spare change, spare change, spare change. You ain't getting shit out of them. And I suspect many of the people haven't filed a fucking W-2 or any tax form in fucking years, you know, because hello, they're fucking homeless. And so, you know, again, yeah, people still lighting off fireworks. You know, again, you know, chances are when you went to college, you're an adult. Especially, you know, in my case, if you chose to go at a later date in life. You know, so if you're whining about, you know, your debt and all that, um, yeah, you got nobody to blame but yourself. You know, and again, you know, how you handle it is how you handle it. And you know, Mr. W, he had some very valid points in his video. Um, you know, the college elitists, you know, versus you know the tradesmen and the labor. I've done labor work. You know, hello, my last job before my government contract position was got eliminated. That was landscaping and construction. Um, and of course, now trying to get back into that is like pulling teeth because they don't want to hire a white guy. I don't care what anybody says. Anyhow, enough of that. You know, I mean, will I ever get out of student loan debt? I can't guarantee that. It would be nice. Um, am I trying to blow up my channel? You know, just so you know, I don't have to go to work anymore. No, I'm not. I mean, I know I've been uploading like crazy, you know, because again, I'm in between jobs, and like I said, I have an interview coming up Monday, so we'll see how that goes. But you know, what we're going to see a lot of, you know, and even that may get replaced by AI is, you know, a lot more OnlyFans profiles, and you know, unfortunately, you know, I hope I'm wrong in this. You know, people either you know self-deleting or committing some heinous crime just to get put in prison. And like, well, I may not have any freedom. I may be stuck in the 6x9, but I don't have to pay my student loans. You know, or conversely, they move to a third world country, get sick. Well, you know, I got these like bumps. I can't move, but I don't have to pay my student loans. Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, that's just my take. I mean, I much like Dapper Dev, Tom Powell. Okay, those are two I can think of because those last two that you know I did reference videos, like response videos too. So we're all adults. We all make our decisions, and Obviously, you know, yeah, it's a valid point. If it wasn't for the people in the trades, then the people who went to college wouldn't even have a college to go to. And I'm going back to before the whole digital world. And I know some people, well, let me phrase that. I think there was one state, I'm not sure if it was Wisconsin or Wyoming, it was one state that actually banned its colleges from offering useless degrees. And, and that's the thing, if you major in, you know, gender giraffe studies, you know, is that going to get you a job? And, that's the thing, will college guarantee you a job? No. Barring maybe a military academy like West Point, or a maritime school like Massachusetts Maritime Academy. I'm from Massachusetts, and that's the first one that I thought of. Yeah, those are probably the only two types that would. Everything else, is not going to guarantee anything. Now, maybe many years ago, having a college degree actually would have meant something. And in all fairness, some companies, and I'll probably get a lot of backlash for this. How like why should people get upset that certain companies require a degree, even if it has nothing to do with what you do? Because in the old days, when they saw that you had one, it's almost like it's telling the company that you stuck through something. And of course, that was also back when company loyalty meant something and got you somewhere instead of a fucking plaque. 10 years anniversary, and here you go. Here's a plaque and a $5 gift card to Starbucks. Yippee! But we live in a different world now, where again, you made the choice. I made the choice. I'm responsible for the choices that I make. Anyhow, just my 2 cents. I'll talk to you.